So, Ellie, Ms. Evi MEP, I'm delighted to meet you again, to see you again. We couldn't meet up in London, where Eleonora Evi was a MEP who was part of the fact-finding visit to London, and that is quite critical because she is the chair of the working group of the Petitions Committee that has been set up. Was it before or after London?
It was right after.
Right after. Mm-hmm. So can you maybe talk to us a little bit about the working group? Do you think it's been effective? Because I thought, it won't be enough. It's too many countries to look after, too many cases, too many petitions. Is that your experience?
Well, yes, indeed. The number of petitions we receive from all over Europe is quite critical, and it concerns us a lot. And that's why we decided as members of the petition committee to establish this working group, which was actually an idea, or maybe it was better, I have to say, a recommendation put into a working document after a fact-finding mission that has been held in Germany in 2012, if I well remember. And one of the recommendations of this working document was to set up a working group in order to deal with all the petitions we received and trying to have an eye and try to have, let's say, to analyze more in depth those petitions and what kind of recommendation we could make here from the European Parliament at European level. And that's why we established this working group, which has now seen 5 meetings so far, and every time we try to focus on one single issue. But I have to admit, it's very complicated, and mostly because we have many dimensions. We have the national dimensions, and we have the European dimension, and we have, of course, the principles and the values written on the Charter for Human Rights and protecting of the rights of the child. So we have all these elements, and the application is its competence of national governments. This is a field in which every single member state has its own family law, and that's why it's very complicated to have an harmonized view and also to intervene in a way from the European point of view. But nevertheless, even if we don't have some hard laws and hard tools, we have the soft ones, the soft tools. So that's why this working group want to point and raise the issues described in petitions and petitioners that came in petition committee, and try to give them a voice and hear their reasons, and try to give some solutions, some possible solutions for. I mean, we are talking about children, and we are talking about our future generation, and we have to do all that we can in order to let them have a proper and good life for the future.
Exactly. Therefore, this meeting this morning about children for sale, the black hole in our culture, was really very good because it addressed the problems. But like most of these meetings, they don't come up with many solutions yet. I'm intrigued by you using the term soft tools, which sounds very good. And when we just spoke to the Finnish MEP, Jana Toom, who is also a member of the Petitions Committee, she came up with 2 soft tools which gave me quite a bit of heart. One was, it is worth submitting a petition, because she used that, and she referred to the European resolution about safeguarding the interest of the child, in order to get a child back from Scotland. Now, Elisabeth Schäfer is one of the lawyers of the Committee of Human Rights in the Nordic countries, and she has had experience at least as bad in the Nordic countries as we in Sweden. And I kind of made her participate in the conversation with Jana Toom as well. Can you imagine that this will be successful to encourage parents to make a petition and to refer to this resolution?
Yeah, I think it was good. it was the first time I heard it today. So, and as she described it, it could be tools, not even soft tools, but hard tools to get back children. Because that's what she had done. So.
What I find interesting that Elizabeth said from her experience, and how many years of experience are you talking about?
5 years.
5 years. That maybe 10% of the children and cases are justified, but 90% are not. And
in the Nordic countries.
in the Nordic countries. Now, I think that is part of the problem, the cultural problem. Have you come across Italian children being snatched?
Not yet. I mean,
Not yet?
no, I want to say it's a little bit complicated because, for example, we have a lot of Italian petitions claiming for that have a cross-border dimension, claiming, for example, problems with the Jugendamt
In Germany?
In Germany. So the German social services in case of separation between the two parents, and we have many petitions concerning this problem, and also with for example Eastern countries too. So it's the picture is very much complicated and puzzled in a way.
It is. It takes a lot of time to make sense, to understand, to analyze it such that one can then find solutions as well. I agree entirely. And we all have to go a very steep and long learning curve. And so what you've learned in 5 years is something for me is also about 5 years. For you it's far less. And to now go for solutions, we found that, and that includes our cameraman from his experience as a policeman. He has, as a police officer, seen that and how pedophilia is being covered up. And that's what the Greek lady from the Commission said this morning very clearly. Sexual abuse is one of the reasons why children are being snatched. Because I really would like you to appreciate that there's a difference between mom and dad fighting over children and the state taking children. And Elizabeth has also had the experience that foreigners are being targeted, aren't they?
Yeah, because we have a spanking law in Sweden since 30 years. 2 years ago, I think it was 30 years, so it's more than 30 years. And if somebody sees mother or father spank their child in front of the neighbors or on the bus or something, they can be immediately reported to the social care services and the child can be removed. And even though there are no medical issues on the child, you cannot see or they cannot report anything really on the child. It will go on an administrative court process and the child will be taken. And I've seen that now in many cases. Christian Syrian people, I have refugees, UNHCR refugees from Africa. Their children have been taken. And I can go on and on with just that part of immigrants coming. So they come from war, but they say that now it's worse for them. Because now it's a war against authorities in a foreign country and their children are not with them. So for them, the children, their family are very important. So the crisis in the family is worse than war, they say.
It's worse than war. I can understand that, I can relate to that. When we try to find solutions, I thought we need the MEPs, the MEPs, as well as the MPs, as well as local people, as well as local kind-wise people, as ethics and justice panels on a local level. Do you think that could work?
Well, in a sense, yes. For example, one of the major results that we had this year in the European Parliament was a resolution on child welfare, on safeguarding the welfare of the child across Europe. And one of the points raised in that resolution was exactly training social workers and training also judicial operators that should be more aware of proper solution to put in place and in a way also to exchange best practices among Europe. This could be a way to improve the situation we have now. Again, this is very crucial aspect that it's difficult to tackle from one single point. We have to address it from many angles. And another point which is very important to say is that also the definition of the welfare of the child, the best interest of the child, is something not defined in a very precise way, and this could be used sometimes in a way that at the very end doesn't really provide that the best interest of the child is really protected and really.
It's true, that's one of the root problems, but at the same time, certain things are obvious. One Greek journalist spoke to me this morning. She happened to have been an adoptee herself, and she said it's non-negotiable. Every adoptee is looking for their biological parents. In the UK, the contact is severed for good. The Council of Europe report, have you seen that, about social services in Europe? This practice is being called abusive. What is the difficulty, or why is it so difficult to implement what these wonderful international reports suggest?
The difficulties are really the fact that these different levels of competencies, where every single member state has his own rules, his own law, especially on family laws, make it really difficult to have all member states dialogue and to exchange each other and in a way fill those gaps that today are really the reason why people get trapped into legal proceedings and destroying families, because at the very end this is I would say it's a labyrinth. Sometimes.
It is, I agree.
This is the main picture and the main idea that comes to my mind when it happens this kind of
to create clarity, one of the first people I spoke to this time I came was the first Green MEP from Germany. He's been in Brussels for 32 years, and he said make use of the translation facilities so that everybody can speak about the problem in their own language. So this event today was actually very, very good like that. Last year's event that Tomasz Szczejdowski organized didn't make use of that. So to first of all raise awareness is still a problem, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, definitely.
In other words, that the problem is a problem, that it needs to be addressed, and how bad it is in each of the countries, that needs to be addressed, and what kind of solutions anybody in each country has suggest is important. So you would go along with that as a next few step. Because one of the things that I saw on one of the television screens is that I think it was in Panama, they had an inquiry committee. And wouldn't that be nice to establish?
But I think it's quite complicated to establish such things. I mean, we had it for the LuxLeaks affair, we had it for the Dieselgate, we are having now for the Panama leaks. These are scandals that boom in some way, but are quite visible from everybody, from the public. We are talking about something which is more than visible.
The black hole
and that's
of our
why
culture.
we should work in order to have the problem clearly defined and try to address it.
Okay, let's do it, shall we?
We have to.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.